Hello, Internet. Oh, she's getting ready for you guys. She did a big stretch. All right, let's get it over with. Let's say hi, Scarlett. Okay, all right. I don't want her jumping up, but I'll let her too. She really wanted to say hi. All right. Hi, Scarlett. You really happy right now? Okay. All right. I know. She's been cooped up, guys. I can't take her anywhere. Her leg is not good. All right. Lay down. You gotta go lay down, Mama. Go lay down. She's very angry at me right now. Go lay down, Scarlett. No. Lay down. Good girl. All right. How's everybody doing? Happy Sunday. Jeez, I almost forgot what day it was for a second. Danger, Wally World. How we doing? Nice to see you. I was thinking about doing this not on YouTube tonight because I'm definitely going to talk about stuff that they could cancel me for. But I don't have a future on YouTube, guys. I love you guys that watch over there on YouTube. I mean, clearly, guys I'm talking with right now. But if my channel gets nuked, you guys hopefully will migrate on over to Rumble because we're going to be talking about some stuff tonight that we're not supposed to talk about on YouTube. And you know, I don't care. I'm just going to stream on YouTube anyway. And if they cancel me, they cancel me. Rochelle, nice to see you over on Rumble. Should also be streaming over on Twitter. And you know what? I'm going to try something right now. I haven't been able to ever pull up the chat on Twitter. And I think there might be a way to. I've never gone into the media studio that Twitter has. Hey, Corpse, what's going on? I've never gone into their media studio after a stream has gone live to see if I could actually. Okay, so it shows it live right now. Let's see what I could do here. Whoop. Okay, so let me mute it. Huh. All right, so I can't really. Yeah, I don't know a good way to monitor the chat over on Twitter. So if you guys are chatting over on Twitter, I don't ever see it. So yeah, that is not a way. You have to subscribe to premium to chat, like the like YouTube, like or Twitter Blue or whatever they used to call it. Sorry, my dogs wait till the show starts to start drinking water. By the way, they don't drink water all day, and then they start. They wait till the show starts. Scarlett, enough of that. Jesus. Yeah, I don't have a good way to monitor the chat over there. So, yeah, I have the settings set to allow anybody to talk. So that must be a setting on Twitter's end. So. All right, yeah. So if you're watching over on Twitter, X, whatever, I don't have a way to monitor that chat. If you want to join the chat, which is always very cool, we have a nice little chat community going on over here, even though it's in two different places. The Rumble or YouTube. If you guys want to come join the chat, it's pretty awesome. So, all right. Well, I'm sure you guys heard the news out of New Zealand today. Well, came out a couple days ago, but New Zealand's been trending. And yeah, thanks, A-Corps. Yeah, if you can hit that like button, I'd much appreciate it. New Zealand's been trending, and some information has come out about the vaccine. It's just data. That's all it is data. And it's very similar to what, if you guys have been following Ed Dowd. Scarlett, go lay down right now. Edward Dowd, go lay down now. You're acting up. Lay down. Good girl. I'm sorry, she's acting up. Have you guys noticed that she's been getting progressively worse as the shows have been going on? It's because I'm not. She's up again. She's going to go play with my other dog. All right, I have to go put her in the bedroom because she's actually misbehaving that much. So stand by, folks. I apologize. Come on. You gotta go in the bedroom. No, go lay down. Come on. Come on. Go in there. Go lay down. No, she's not fine. She's gonna knock something over. I had to go put her down. No, I didn't put her down. I put her in the bedroom. Yeah, no, she gets all wound up and she starts messing with my German Shepherd. My German Shepherd does not want her messing with her. My German Shepherd's old. And yeah, I'm Spartacus, Casey Martin. Nice to see everybody. Let's see. I should stream on Foxhole. I don't even know what Foxhole is. I used to stream on Odyssey as well. Yep, screw YouTube. I am Spartacus. Yes, the chat indeed does work on here. So, yeah, right on. Thanks for coming over. Yeah, YouTube or Rumble. But this, I don't know if the stream will get taken down over on YouTube because we're going to talk about the news that came out of New Zealand. So, this is it's just data about the vaccine, and I guess this guy was able to. Well, it's a lot. It looks like they kept a lot better track of data in New Zealand, probably because it's a very small country and it's easier to do that sort of thing. So we're going to get into this whistleblower that came out of New Zealand and basically showed excess deaths in correlation with the rollout of the vaccine, and it also appears that there's a correlation with batches of the vaccine. So this is what his data is showing, and we'll get into it. But yeah, so we'll talk about New Zealand a little bit before we even talk about his data. But so the population of New Zealand's tiny. It's 5.25 million people. Yeah, about 5.25 million people in New Zealand. To give you guys some perspective, California, the highest population state in the country, is huge. We have, what is it, almost 39 million in California. So to put New Zealand in perspective, if you just take the San Francisco Bay Area, the greater San Francisco Bay Area, and this is data all the way back from 2010, we had 7.1 million in Bay Area. So I would say New Zealand is probably the size of like San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, and all the little cities in between. Fremont, Milpitas, and then all the cities up and down the peninsula, Morgan Hill, Gilroy, all that. That's probably about the size of New Zealand. So they had, and it's an island as well. So it was really, they kept really good track of their data, it would appear, over there. So I'll just start with I'll go straight to the Rumble video, and there's a few different time stamps that I want to stop at, and then I'll go to some different clips to talk about, because I want to give you an idea of who this guy is first and why he has this data. But this to me is major bombshell stuff. I don't know if a lot of people are going to be talking about it. This should go huge, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it will. This should be gigantic information, but for some reason I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if this is a big deal or not. But this is here. Actually, I have his name. Let me pull up his name really quick before I play a clip of him. I should probably give you some background. Oh wait, shit! I shouldn't have done that actually, because I'm stupid. Yeah, sorry. Maybe I won't give you.
This thing is a killer.
All right, so he's a data scientist for New Zealand, but I should have had all his back. I'll get to his background in a little bit. Let's listen to him talk and see how he came across his data in the first place.
And we have the statistical evidence of that, thanks to you.
Absolutely.
Take us, before we get into the data itself, take us to the beginning of your journey. How did this come to you?
Right. Well, I was involved with building a project, helped with implementing a vaccine payment system for our providers. It's called a pay per dose system. So it means that every time someone gets vaccinated, they get a payment for it as a provider. And I helped build it. I implemented it.
So you heard that, right? Every time somebody gets vaccinated, they get paid as a provider. So this goes back to the whole incentive thing.
And when I was looking at the data, which is part of my job, I noticed some discrepancies with the dates of death, people dying within a week of being vaccinated.
So what did you notice when you first started to look at this data as you were building it?
Well, as soon as the system went live, we noticed that people were dying almost straight away after being injected. So that sort of prompted my curiosity a bit. And so I dug a little deeper. And I am a scientist by nature. I love science. It's my all-time favorite. I've got a master's degree in.
All right, so that kind of gives you an idea of how he came across the data, right? So he built the system. He literally built it. He explains why he's the only person really to have had this data. Not really. He's the only person that could have seen all of this data in all of New Zealand because it's such a small country and he was the one put in charge of this entire project. So he explains that a little bit more, but I can't play the whole video. Obviously, this is an hour-long interview that all of you guys should go listen to, but I'm going to jump over to about minute 16:55 is what I got marked here. And I'm gonna play a cool 7 minutes of this too. So sorry. All right, let's go right about here. So here he starts going into like the actual, somehow they correlated the injection site, like where people went and got, like people went to 7-Eleven parking lots or whatever, the pharmacy, wherever they went to get their injection. He correlated the people that got their injections from that site and the batches that they are injected with. And this is the data that he goes into there.
Well, I was curious about the death rates, as I said, and what I did was run a query to see how many days where more than 120 people were dying.
Why 120?
That was just number? Yeah, it was just a magic number. It was just a line in the sand.
Oh, okay. Actually, I'm sorry. I was skipping ahead a little bit. So this is the excess death stuff. Before we even get into the vaccine, he's not even talking about any of the vaccine stuff yet. He's just talking about excess deaths actually just deaths in New Zealand. So he's going back in the timeline. He goes back like 15 years, I believe. And he sets the benchmark for 120 deaths per day because that's high. 120 deaths per day in New Zealand would be a high number. So that's his high benchmark number. And then he shows how many days have 120 deaths. So just really note how few days there are, and notice how he singles out. You can look at the data and then, over 120 deaths. Oh, okay, that was the Christchurch earthquake. And then you continue a little farther and then, that was the Christchurch massacre, the Christchurch mass shooting. So like 120 deaths is rare in a day in New Zealand. And this is what he gets into.
It seemed appropriate for New Zealand because we're a small country. It's like in America, it would be much higher, obviously, in Britain. And so 120 was a magic sort of point where you would see a lot of days where it wasn't 120.
Because that would have been in the past unusual to have 120
exactly,
daily deaths.
That is
right.
the magic point. If it's lower than that, then it loses its relevance. Because there's lots of days where it's over 100, and you would just see like every day basically over 100. But 120, you get that sort of cutoff point where most days should be under 120.
Makes sense. All right, so 120 is the benchmark. Sorry about the audio here as well. It's just his audio is very poor in this video, so I'll stop and explain just in case you guys can't hear.
But then you get a few days which are over 120. So what I did was go back to 2010.
I like that. It marks it out as a talking point day. Oh, that's an unusual day. We've had 120 deaths. This was
Yeah.
the New Zealand before the jab rollout.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, I get that. So we've got 2011,
Yeah.
and we've got the 22nd of February, and we've got 268.
Yeah. And that is the Christchurch earthquake.
So that was a real outlier.
That's an outlier. Yeah.
Okay.
And it also validates the data set. So then after that, we've got 2011 again.
2011, but that's February, and again, we don't have over 120 deaths until
that's July.
So there's only 2 days in 2011 that had over 120 deaths. One of them was the day of that earthquake, and then one of them was 124 deaths. So it was just barely over 120. And I believe he says this was the flu season.
until July.
Yeah, but that's the midwinter flu season, and you expect that in winter more people die. It's just a statistical fact.
And they're just above the 120.
Yeah. So
All right.
Obviously, it must have been a fairly bad winter.
So we've had a 5-month gap with no numbers above 120 a day dying
Yes, exactly.
in New Zealand.
And then the next one down, if you look at that, is
2014.
So we missed 2 years there where there was no numbers more than 120.
And that
All right, so 2 days in 2011 that are over 120 deaths, and then they go 2012, 2013, no days over 120 deaths, not a single day. So 2 years in a row, and then a few months all the way into almost to the end. Almost to the end of 2014, or like 3/4 of the way through that 2014, until they get another date over 120.
That is the 8th of August, and we've got 135.
Again, probably flu.
Big gap, 3-year gap.
Middle of winter.
Okay.
But a big gap. So again, you've got another one there. And then
That's again in August, so I've obviously got something going on.
Yeah, which is, winter.
2015, July.
Yeah.
And then 2017.
So we missed another year.
So between 2015 and 2017, New Zealand did not have one day over 120
Yeah, that's exactly right.
deaths.
And then again,
This is very
2007.
So another 2-year gap without a single day in the 2 years with over 120 deaths. So this is very rare, a day over 120 deaths.
You got the midwinter flu season again.
Yep.
2017 must have been quite a bad flu season.
A number of months here. So we're going through from June in 2017 through to August.
Yeah.
We've got August, we're still 2017, but they're all.
So late 2017 in New Zealand was kind of gnarly, whatever was happening over there. So they must have had a really bad flu season or something. So something happened in 2017 because there was a lot of them. But still, in the course of the year, and it was all really between July and like the end of September, I believe. And there was maybe 12 days where there was 12 days out of the year, the entire year, maybe 20 days, we'll just say on the high estimate, where it was over 120 deaths in the day.
All just above, most of them are just above 120 deaths a day.
Apart from
A couple 141,
Yeah.
one at 159. All right.
So, but then 2017, 2018, you only have one.
Right.
2019.
2018, we've only got the 2nd of August. We've only got one day, and that's 121 deaths. Then we don't have more than 121 deaths until 2019 in March, the 15th of March.
Right. Yep. And then 2019, again, bad flu season. And then nothing. So if you look at the bottom there, for
121 deaths. Then we don't have more than 121 deaths until 2019 in March, the 15th of March.
Right. Yep. And then 2019, again, bad.
So look at that though, guys. That's sort of interesting. So late, that's right when they started talking about COVID, remember? So this was this is a lot of days with deaths right over 120. This is quite a few in a row, and this is right. They probably said they got their first COVID case in New Zealand like way later, but I mean, this data here would suggest that COVID might have been around in New Zealand much earlier, because look at all these deaths, and if you look at COVID as a very bad flu, which kind of was, this is just a really, really bad flu. Yeah, I know, YouTube, you don't like it when I say stuff like that. I don't care. This kind of correlates with that, doesn't it? It started in March of 2019. Okay. I didn't even notice that the first time I watched this video. So they had a major pickup of deaths over 120 in a day in early 2019.
Flu season. And then nothing. So if you look at the bottom there, for 1 year, 2020, there's nothing.
So 2020, when COVID was supposed to be as gnarly as ever. I don't know if New Zealand supposedly got a late start on the. There was no days in 2020 when COVID was at its worst, supposedly, in New Zealand. I don't know if there's any New Zealanders watching. When was COVID allegedly at its worst in New Zealand? When did it have its worst death count, death rate, whatever? When was that? Because if it was during 2020, this data doesn't suggest that COVID was. It suggests that 2019 was a more dangerous year for excess death than 2020. So I'm going to say excess death, his benchmark that he said is 120. So anything over that is what I guess we would consider as excess death in this case, because that's the benchmark that he's setting. So let me check the chat here. Hey, Corbs, did you say something to get me canceled? Danger. Bong hit for everyone. So Dan, batches. Yes, we'll get into that. We will get into that. So let's continue.
Right. So 2021. This is before the.
I am Spartacus. You first heard about COVID in November, December of 2018. Just rumors, though. Where are you? What are you in the U.S.?
Pandemic as well, by the way. So we have our rollout in the middle of 2021. But 2021 itself, not a big year. Not a big year.
So that's all 2021.
That's right, yeah.
And those are the only days in 2021 before the rollout that were above 120.
Okay, so this is all before the vaccine rollout. So that would suggest 2021, they had a fairly gnarly year with, you would look at it like 2017. Remember, 2017 was a pretty substantial year. It was like 12 days out of the year that they had days where it was over 120 deaths per day. And 2019 and 2021 are looking similar to that, but 2020, and that's when everybody is locked down super hardcore. It does stop the spread, when you lock everybody down, I guess. And then everybody comes out, and then 2021, like this data would suggest kind of what happened. And then, but it, according to this data, it just kind of looks like a bad flu season, because this is everything that's highlighted here in this picture. This is all the days of excess death over 120 deaths per day. And it's only a handful of them. It's maybe 12, just like 2017 before COVID was around anywhere. And then the next date is a 2020 date. I'm sorry, is a 2022 date. So I'm Spartacus. You're in California. You heard about that shit in 2018. I didn't start hearing about it until I don't know, the end of the summer in 2019. But yeah, and I was hearing jokes. I was seeing memes, and everybody's just calling it coronavirus. And I was just seeing memes about it. Everybody's making fun of it. All right. Well, all right, let's continue. And these numbers are interesting.
Now the vaccine rollout comes into full effect.
Okay. This is where, all right. So we didn't have a lot of days, especially back-to-back days, right? I don't think there was any back-to-back days in that entire thing of single days that have over 120 deaths. There wasn't a single back-to-back day, right? Vaccine rollout, April 20th, ironically, 420, April 20th, 2022 is when he says the vaccine rollout is. And now let's watch these numbers go.
And we've also got COVID, which I'll refer to in another graph. But 2022, check this out, right?
This is April the 20th, 2022.
Just after the vaccine rollout. Yeah. So we've got
151, 128, 137 dead. Wait a minute. This is every day.
Yeah. So as you see now, from this point onwards, this just keeps.
So look at everything that's highlighted is all over 120 deaths. And this is 5/9, 5/12, 5/16, 5/20, 5/24, 5/28, 6/1, 6/6, 6/8, 6/13, 6/14, 6/15, 6/16, 6/17. Then it starts being every freaking day. This is insane. It just gets, and the numbers keep getting higher and higher too.
It's going.
Almost every day.
And going.
Here it is now, every single day.
Going. And going.
And they're all above 120.
Yeah. Still 2022. Going.
So already evidence of excess death
This is
in New
excess
Zealand.
mortality, 100%.
Wow. And still
going.
it's going.
Still going. Now we're heading 2023. Has it stopped? Has it slowed down? Well, you tell me. It's still going.
This is 2023.
We're still in 2023. So
Where before we had gaps of months or a year or
So 2023, this is April 2nd, April 6th, April 19th, April 30th. Yeah, it's just okay. So he hasn't even mentioned vaccine yet. We're just looking at numbers. This doesn't have anything to do with the vaccine. We're just looking at numbers of death, of excess death over 120 deaths in a single day. That's the benchmark he set. All right. So we saw that it's very few days. You get years, you get multi-year gaps without a single day in the entire year where there's a day with 120 deaths or more. And then all of a sudden, and then 2017, 2019, 2021, you had a substantial amount, maybe 12 to 14 days out of the entire year where you had 120 deaths or more, right? So that would suggest like a gnarly flu season, a bad flu season. That's what it would suggest. Well, COVID being more than a bad flu season, that 2021, 2019, but 2020, there was nothing, not a single day. But then 2022, 2023, all of a sudden it skyrockets just out of nowhere. Remember, 2020, 2021 is when COVID was supposed to be insane. That's when all the fear was being pumped everywhere. And New Zealand was particularly bad about this fear that they're pumping out and how everyone had to be vaccinated because COVID is so freaking dangerous. COVID was so freaking dangerous. How come there wasn't a single day in all of 2020 that had 120 deaths or more? Why not? And then why did those days start becoming more frequent after COVID had started dying down and the vaccine roll? Like everybody got their vaccine now, so COVID shouldn't be that big of a deal. The variants become more, this is what viruses do. As they mutate, they become more transmittable, less deadly, right? So this data should be the inverse, right? There should be, the number should be coming down of days with 120 deaths or more after the virus starts to mutate, not be as dangerous. And now there's, treatments for it, AKA the vaccine. Okay, let's keep, we'll keep going for another minute.
2 years,
Yes.
3 years, no gaps.
We're not. I'll do that now.
Again, how do we know this is not COVID deaths? COVID, the
Because-
pandemic sold to us.
Because the COVID deaths stopped And I'll show you that on the Worldometer website.
Okay.
You can look at this data yourself. Check it out. Please check it out. The Worldometer website shows it.
Okay. So, all right. So he comes out with this data. All right, I'll stop sharing that. All right. So he comes out with this data. This is actually, there is one more clip I want to show you guys. So that's just the excess death stuff. Now I want to go, and I was going to start doing my own clips, just clipping little scenes out from this and then putting my own commentary over it and telling you guys what I thought was important. But one of my favorite follows over on Twitter, who for some strange reason never shows up in my feed, and I'm subscribed to him. Like, I pay for his content on Twitter and I never see his stuff. I have to go to his page. I feel like I got to sneeze, guys. Oh, I'm sorry. I usually come in threes too, so we'll see if it happens again. I tried to mute in time, but I couldn't. Oh man, sorry about that. I apologize. I almost blew out an eardrum too. Okay, so let's go over to the Vigilant Fox. This is one of my favorite follows on the X platform. Like I said, I subscribe to him, and his stuff never pops up in my feed unless I go searching for it. And well, he did a clip today. Sorry, guys. All right. So he says, that's his name, Barry Young, and he's 56, and he's a statistician out of New Zealand. He's the whistleblower. And so here, I always got the wrong. Sorry. I like this view better. No, I don't. Sorry. This one. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So the Vigilant Fox says this statistician and whistleblower, Barry Young, 56, has been arrested by New Zealand authorities for exposing this data. Mr. Young examined connections between specific COVID-19 vaccine batches and mortality rates. What he found was alarming. Batch 1, total vaccinated, was 701. And we'll get into this data, you guys. This is insane. So he's got batch IDs, right? And I believe these are all Pfizer, but I'm not positive. He specifies that later in the video. So batch ID 1, total amount of people vaccinated was 711. The amount of people that died, and I don't know how long after, I guess this is up until today, but the amount of people that took batch 1 was 711 people took that batch. The amount of people that died was 152 out of those people. That's a 21%. You guys, they scrap this stuff in like clinical trials phases. If there would have been like one death out of that, 2 deaths, like 152, 20%, you guys. I think it's like 0.5% is when they're supposed to scrap all this stuff. Okay, so that's just batch 1. Batch ID 8. Total amount of people vaccinated was 221 people. The death count was 38 people. That's 17.19%. So again, this is 221 people that took batch ID 8 of the COVID vaccine. They went and I guess they, I don't know how he cross-referenced this stuff. You know, I don't know if he says that he went and looked up like who's still alive, because you can, he had access to, because he set up the payment system for it. Remember how he said earlier that if there's a pharmacy or something and somebody gets vaccinated, they get paid by every vaccine that they give out. So he set up the payment system for that. So he has access to all the names of people that got vaccinated. So I guess he went and cross-referenced that with who's still alive. And this is what he came up with. Or unless there's some sort of internal database that does that automatically. Anyway, batch ID 3, total vaccinated was 310 people. Death count was 48, and that's 15%. So these are the top 10 that he did. And the lowest percentage was a 4.52%. And that was out of 11,019 people vaccinated, or that took batch ID 71, 11,000 people. 498 people died. That's a lot. So that's the lowest one. That is a lot. 11,000 people take it. Almost 500 people die. That's bonkers. So And he finishes by saying the underlying mortality rate in New Zealand should be only 0.75%. So if you took, so this is essentially a group of people by batch ID, right? So within any specific group of people, the mortality, or non-specific group of people, with the overall, all ages, all comorbidities, everything, taking everything into account, taking everything into account, all death rate of all New Zealanders should be about 0.75%. All right. So the lowest of this group here was 4.52%. If you took the highest was 20%. And this is a lot of people. 711 people, 221 people, 310 people, 364 people, 1,006 people, 1,018 people. Like this is okay. Let's listen to this video. This is a 3-minute video. I'll try not to interrupt it too much.
Okay, so what I did with the data was look at the top 10 batches that had a high death count, a high mortality rate, and I put them on a chart, which you can see up there. So it's got a batch ID. So what I did was our internal batch ID. I counted the number of vaccinated within that batch, and then I found out who was dead.
Wow, let's have a look.
And so we then look at the percentage ratio.
So
So I do want to know how he found out who was dead, So it sounds like he personally cross-referenced that data. How did he do that? Because I want to be as skeptical as I can about all of this.
you know if these are all Pfizer, the top 10?
Yes, they are.
And this is Pfizer's batch number 1. We've had 711 from batch number 1 vaccinated. 152 of those died, which makes a 21%
Percentage, yeah.
death
That's the
rate.
mortality rate from that
Mortality
particular
rate.
batch.
They are high. Now, what's our normal that we would
It should
expect?
be underlying
0.75.
mortality rate, 0.75.
0.75.
Because these batches are against all age groups as well. It's not one particular batch for one particular age group, it's across all ages. So all the vaccination centres, whoever rocked up on the day, whatever age you were, and it would average out. It would all average out. So there's not one particular.
So if you took all of the injection centers, you wouldn't see these same numbers across. You would see the 0.75 mortality rate within those data sets. These are just the high ones, which would suggest that there's bad batches. Now, you can speculate what the reasons of that would be. One thing that would explain it was that these had to be kept at such high or such cold temperatures and transported very carefully. They expired quickly. So that could be, they become like a toxic agent somehow when they become expired, or there was legitimately bad batches and they were refrigerated properly and all that kind of stuff. And, then you have to ask the next question at that point, which makes you sound like a conspiracy theorist, but all you're doing is asking the next question. And that's, was it on purpose? Much like the lab leak theory, and which is now seems to be the most commonly accepted theory, that COVID escaped from the lab in Wuhan, not some freaking wet market. God, remember how they said it was racist to suggest that it came from a lab, but it wasn't racist to suggest that Chinese people like to eat bats? Like, everything was so backwards this whole time. But now it's the most likely scenario that it escaped from a lab. So what's the next logical question then? You have to ask, was it released on purpose? And it makes you sound like a conspiracy theorist to say that, but you have to ask the question, much like any other things that have happened recently. And you have to ask, was it allowed to happen? Some of you guys know what I'm getting at there. All right. I'll let him talk for another couple minutes here.
A batch that points to one particular age group.
So looking as if batch number 8, second one,
Yeah.
221 jab, 38 dead. That's a 17% mortality rate.
Yeah.
I am Spartacus. Yeah, there's a lab in Ukraine too. You know where else there's a lab? In Reedley, California, linked to the CCP by a guy that was on the run from Canada. And that lab got funding directly from the office of the California governor, Gavin Newsom. All that is real, like legitimate. Can fact check me on all that stuff, and nobody's talking about it. Yeah, there's the Chinese bio lab in Reedley, California. I talked about this last episode, and nobody's talking about it.
Batch number 3 here.
Yeah.
And we've got 48 out of 310. So that's a 15%.
Yeah.
And if we go right down in the top 10,
Yeah.
batch 71, 11,000 vaccinated with batch number 71, 498 dead, and that's a 4%. Now you say down the bottom on the screen, could you just tell us what this is saying? The chances of these batches not being a killer are 100 billion to 1. Explain that as a statistician.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the underlying mortality rate, and then you look at the ratio percentage here, the top one, the chances of that occurring naturally by chance is almost impossible. It cannot be due to chance.
So he's saying, yeah, these people were vaccinated and this mortality rate within that group was much higher, but could it have been anything else aside from the vaccine? Because there's all sorts of factors, right? He's saying, well, the mathematical chances of that being the case, since that was all just vaccinated people, like unvaccinated is your control group, the 0.07 or the 0.75 mortality rate is your control group. That would be your unvaccinated people. Well, yeah, he's the numbers guy. And what he's doing is a lot like what Ed Dowd has been doing for the last couple of years, which to me is the most compelling data. It's not even, it's just looking at hard numbers. They're statisticians, and that's all they're looking at. And Ed Dowd is looking at a lot of insurance information and disability claims and all sorts of that kind of stuff. And we'll get into him in a minute. So, all right, that's the Vigilant Fox clip I wanted to play. But yeah, so New Zealand, Australia, Canada. Well, I mean, even the US in terms of propaganda, we're so over the top insane about the whole vaccine thing. Well, here, before I get into that, so you can see here, they arrested him. So, I mean, New Zealand was crazy over the top. I was just talking about it. But right after this video came out, they went and they arrested him. Very young New Zealand Oracle DBA, who leaked the vaccination records, was arrested and charged with accessing a computer system for dishonest purposes. That's what they charged him with. Those are the charges. Accessing a computer system for dishonest purposes. How dystopian does that sound? And will appear in court in the Wellington District Court today. Police want to jail him without bail. Okay. Here, well, listen. So this is a local news station reporting on it.
A 56-year-old health worker is due to appear in Wellington District Court today after allegedly disclosing and misusing vaccine data accessed through their work. Te Whatu Ora confirmed it had laid a complaint against a staff member with police, claiming he used the information to spread misinformation about COVID-19. Police say the man has been charged with accessing a computer system for dishonest purposes.
The man will appear in the Wellington District Court today over a mass leak of people's COVID-19 vaccine.
You know what's funny to me is they showed that person getting the injection there, and they didn't. Something that they've been talking about this whole time to make sure it doesn't go into a capillary. I think it is, right? You nurses out there, tell me if I got this right. When you inject somebody with something, you're supposed to pull back on the plunger a little bit to make sure no blood goes into the plunger. If blood goes into the plunger, that means you're in a capillary, and that you're not supposed to inject it. It's a capillary is a tell me if I'm wrong here. A capillary is like a small vein. And you're not supposed to inject those into a vein or a capillary. You're supposed to just inject them into the meat, right? So you're supposed to, you're supposed to aspirate, pull back on the plunger to make sure that you're not in a capillary, because that's not where you're supposed to inject it. And a lot of people were speculating that that's where these vaccine injuries are coming from, is because they are being injected improperly, that they're not aspirating. Any of you guys out there that are actual medical professionals, unlike my dumb ass, tell me if I got that right or if I'm just making shit up right there, because I could just be spreading fake news. So don't listen to my dumb ass. All right, continue with the local news.
Vaccination data. The 56-year-old was arrested after a Te Whatu Ora investigation into how the information was published on an overseas website. Te Whatu Ora's Chief People Officer Andrew Slater joins us. Andrew, good morning. Thanks for your time. Can I ask first, have you notified the Privacy Commissioner of this breach?
Yeah, good morning. So absolutely, we have notified all of the relevant agencies, including police, as soon as we became aware of some of these activities at the back end of last week.
How was it that someone who worked for Te Whatu Ora was able to extract that information or download it or remove it from your systems in a format that allowed them to upload it and publish it somewhere else?
Yeah, so look, what we've got here is
Look at this lady. They're not talking about anything in regards to the content that he broke out. Like, hey, it's looking like tons of people are dying from this thing. No, they don't talk about that at all. She's just super accusational. Like, how could this have possibly gotten out? We already know. He told us he was in charge of it. That's why, because he had access to all of it, because he was the person in charge of setting up the payment system, so people that gave the injections could get their payment, because they had a financial incentive to tell people to get injected. And then after seeing all this data, he felt super guilty, and it was eating away at his conscience. So he had to come out and let it out. No, they're not talking about that at all. They're talking about how could he have possibly had access to this. This lady's annoying.
Very small team of highly technical specialists that keep all of our databases and things running. This particular team, in order to do their role, has quite extensive access to our systems, and this person's worked for us for several years. So what we've then seen is some anonymized information pop up on an overseas website, and our investigation will look at, where did that anonymization happen? How has our data been moved around both internally?
So with all this spin that they're trying to say, and trying to paint this guy as like somebody that stole information, what I've gotten out of this whole thing that they just said there is that yes, all his data is correct and accurate, and he's bringing you true information. That's what I got out of all this. They're just trying to demonize the guy that's showing you real information. This is all government information that he's showing you. They're not refuting any of his data.
And externally. So our full investigation will be looking at that to make sure that there's nothing that we could have done or seen earlier that would have prevented it.
Okay, so Andrew, what I'm hearing there is that there is actually a possibility that your IT systems allowed something to happen that should not have been allowed to occur.
Yeah, look, we're not sure. We're in the very early stages of our investigation, and we'll be making sure that we leave no rock unturned as we seek to make sure that there's nothing that we could have done to prevent this person from effectively stealing this information.
I want to talk about the anonymized.
So we're just going to make sure that we get to the bottom of this, that there's nothing we could have done that could have prevented him from bringing this true and accurate information to New Zealanders, that the vaccine that they were coerced into taking, strong-armed into taking, they were worse than the United States, because the United States, because of our whole constitution thing and freedom of speech thing. New Zealand, Australia, and Canada, to me, were absolutely freaking bananas. They were the worst in the West. I think New Zealand probably was the worst. New Zealand and Australia were. Canada was insane too. And the truckers are the ones that ended COVID. Let's not forget that. The Canadian truckers ended COVID. That's how COVID ended, was the Canadian truckers. So, yeah, New Zealand, Canada, and Australia were on like another planet in terms of coercive measures to get people to take the freaking vaccine. It was out of 1984. It was insane what they were doing to people to get them to freaking take it. It was insane enough here in the US, but New Zealand was on another level. That Jacinda Ardern chick, that horse-faced, crackhead-looking crazy lady, the stuff that came out of her horse-faced mouth was insane. Let's finish this with this local newscast really quick.
Side of this, because you're saying you're still.
Oh, sorry. Let me check the chat really quick. Oh, Pete Grabber, nice to see you. They're trying to avoid a Nuremberg 2.0. Casey Martin, yeah, they got to bury this, right? It's all coming out. There's no way. Acorbs, yeah, he got it from their data. Yeah, he had access because he was a freaking employee. I am Spartacus. Australia was crazy. They had straight up quarantine camps. I forgot about that. They had straight up quarantine camps. They were taking people away and putting them in camps against their will. Yeah, Trudeau said no one was forced. Yeah, right. Trudeau and Gavin Newsom are essentially the same person. Yeah, forced camps for sure. B Sizzo, what up, man? You're honorable, too cool. Wally World. Gee, why not investigate why so many are dying? Yeah, no kidding. It's just all right, insane. We'll finish with this local newscast really quick.
Looking into when that data was anonymized or how it was. I've watched some of those videos. There's quite a lot of video footage still available, easily found online, that has this data, that talks about this with this worker, where he discusses what he's found. And it seems clear from those discussions, the data he has is not anonymized, that he has made the decision to anonymize it for publication. That seems quite concerning.
When they're saying anonymized, I think she's saying people's personal information. And if that's what she's saying, that's not true at all. He blacked out everybody's names. He didn't put anybody's actual name in there. He didn't mention anyone's specific name. He didn't post anyone's medical data at all. They're making that up. Now they're trying to paint it as if he put a bunch of people's medical records out there. That's what it looks like she's trying to do now.
Yeah, so look, what we don't know is exactly at this point in time whether he's looked at the information within our systems and made anonymization there, or whether the anonymization processes and things have happened outside our systems. But look, we've got multiple teams of forensic experts. We're working very closely with police to understand that. Those overseas websites, that particular set of anonymized data, we served relevant court orders on over the weekend, saw that information removed. We'll be continuing to track down any videos or anything else that contains information about that, and also have that removed as well.
Police have arrested this person. Will you be looking to interview them or talk to them?
We will continue to cooperate fully with the New Zealand police as they run through their processes. Obviously, the matter is now before the court, so I can't really comment a lot more about that part of the investigation. What we've also got running is an employment investigation, which I hope will conclude rapidly, but also enable us to understand some things in that process.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it might be helpful to you to be able to talk to him, given that it seems you weren't even aware this information had been taken until he alerted you to it.
Yeah, look, we'll be.
She's trying to. She's just so transparent here. She does not care at all about the actual information that he brought out, that all New Zealanders should be aware of, everybody else throughout the world should be aware of. All she's concerned about is nailing who's responsible for allowing this data to get out there. Freaking madness. She's so transparent. She's a horrible person. I don't know who this is, but she is a horrible person.
Continuing to do that, we've got some of our own National Security Operations Centre is looking at the digital footprints, and we're also working really closely with external forensic experts to understand what's been done on our computer systems and things. I would emphasise that this person was part of a very small team that has this kind of access to in order to do their job.
Are you doing any checks or talking to the other remaining members of that team? There's obviously something gone wrong here.
Yeah, look, I've personally met with that team, and they have told me that they saw nothing that would have indicated something awry here, and they're absolutely devastated by what's occurred. Though this team takes very seriously the very important job that they have to do every day to ensure that these systems run.
Given the size of the breach and the scale of the breach and the information being considered and the fact that you are still investigating it, Andrew, can we be assured that our information is safe?
Yeah, look, we at Te Whatu Ora Health New Zealand, we do everything we can, and we'll be investigating this to make sure that there's nothing else that we need to do looking forward and nothing else that we need to do looking back.
Andrew Sater from Te Whatu Ora, thanks for coming on the program this morning.
A Corps, yeah, that's exactly what I was just about to say. All of these news outlets, doesn't really matter what country you're in, they're all just arms of they're the mouthpiece for the intelligence agencies. That's all they are. This lady is like clearly an asset. Oh, how annoying. Okay, so let's go to, this is the lady that interviewed him, and I want to, sorry, I don't have my stuff in order. Here. All right. So this is a bit of a longer video too. And I'm going tonight until I'm through all the material I want to get through. So Casey Martin, don't dox yourself. Well, you know I already doxed myself a long time ago. Well, not really. Kinda. Yeah, okay. Yeah, TV News has mind watched Sedan. All right, so this is the lady that interviewed him, and this is a bit of a longer video. It's 5 minutes, but let's just listen to what she has to say after he got arrested. And her whole entire interview is on Rumble. I should have linked it. I'll repost it when I'm done doing this live stream. But this is the same lady you just saw that was interviewing him. So let's listen to what she has to say after he got arrested.
I'm Liz Gunn, and this is an emergency call around the world from New Zealand. Today is Sunday, the 3rd of December, 2023. I'm out in the car that we have. I've had a call to say that the whistleblower who has put out the crucial information exposing the COVID lies, exposing the information that he had working for the Ministry of Health in New Zealand, has had his house surrounded by police at 2:15 today. It has been swarming with police. The time now is almost 5 o'clock. I have not gone public yet because I wanted not to inflame the situation, but why are the police there still? And this I heard 10 minutes ago. As well as that, 10 minutes ago, the second person who backs up that whistleblower, and one of the people who contacted me along with the whistleblower, has had her house now surrounded by police.
Oh, so that's interesting. So I didn't know about that. So it looked like they're trying to take down anybody that was involved in this.
So those two people are no longer available to talk to us, and I must put this message out to the world. I would remind the new New Zealand government.
You know what? As she's talking, I'm going to take this quick moment to remind you guys that what I'm doing here isn't without risk. If you guys haven't noticed, the amount of money that intelligence agencies put into trying to sway public opinion, and the Krasensteins are the perfect example for those of you that are on Twitter, the X platform, and all of these big accounts that are basically paid mouthpieces. They have a very strong interest in steering public opinion. So, what I'm doing over here is not without risk. And yeah, if I don't know, just if you'd like to help keep me safe, retweet, likes, all that stuff. The bigger this becomes, the bigger this show becomes, the more attention I'll draw, but the harder it is for them to shut me up. So I'm not going to stop talking. It's not without risk to my own safety too, because people are freaking crazy. You know that around here. People are absolutely insane. And I have started getting recognized in my community. Usually good. It usually goes over great. It's usually wonderful. In fact, it's made me feel much more welcome in my community. I always felt like nobody wanted me around here because, I'm from San Jose and my opinions. But that doesn't seem to be the case. There seems to be, I have a lot more support around here than I thought I did, but I do have very strange run-ins with people every now and then. There's been some incidents. So with that being said, your guys' support means a lot. So if you guys could retweet, like all that stuff, I'm doing this all. Also, I should say, I've never gotten a penny from Rumble. I've never gotten a penny from YouTube. I'll tell you every single pay. I do get paid from X. I do get paid from the Twitter or X platform. The most they pay you every 2 weeks, just like a job would. The most I've ever gotten was like $180 in 2 weeks. And now I'm usually getting around $30 per every 2 weeks. That's what I get from the X platform. That's my income from this stuff. And then however you guys support me, which has been amazing. So I'm not Tim Pool. I'm not like one of these giant accounts. If you guys know how much savings I've burned through doing this and just trying to stay afloat, because you guys know that I'm essentially unemployable too. This is what I'm doing now. And it's terrifying. So again, this is not without risk. I'm not a giant account yet. If you'd like to help me make this a thing, share it with a friend, retweet, post, all that kind of thing. So hit the like button, all that stuff. Yeah, I know, Pete Grabber. I do need merch, and I'm working on it. I actually I bought the domain for a merch store. You guys in the chat, you guys want to be the Mountain Goat Militia? Are you guys down with that? Would you guys be down being called the Mountain Goat Militia? Let me know in the chat if you guys are down with that. I need like I need it to be unanimous. Unanimous? Yeah. I don't know why I did that. Unanimous. I don't know why I made it like that, but yeah. So if you guys want to, Mountain Goat Militia. I don't know. I was thinking about making some merch, but anyway, if you want to support the show, so hopefully I don't get murdered, give it a thumbs up. All right. Listen to her continue talking about what happened to her whistleblower.
Under Luxon, that you must get out the truths and show you are different from the tyrannical Ardern government. This is a massive challenge for you. This is where you show New Zealand what kind of a government you will be, and particularly you, Winston Peters. Winston, I came round to your house on the eve of putting the information out. I reached you by phone on message. I said, I have something very important to offer you. You got into government promising New Zealanders that you would stand up for what we call the freedom truth-telling movement, that you would put out a full COVID inquiry. The whistleblower tried to reach you as well. I gave him your number, and he said that he would give you all the information. We were both willing to give you the first drop and make you the hero politician of the world. We are still willing to do that, but I am calling on you, Winston. I am calling on you. Help these people. Make sure Luxon calls off the police. Make sure they are freed immediately. Make sure that this whistle.
All right, so she's calling on Jacinda Ardern's replacement to free the man, essentially, which I highly doubt is going to happen. But yeah, no. Acorb's design a goat with a military helmet on. That'd be kind of cool. They should do like a goat running with an AR. That'd be even more cool, I think. All right, I think that's enough of her video that I'm going to play. You guys get the gist of. They arrested him, New Zealand. So he comes out with the information. They do a big smear campaign against him on the corporate press, and they don't refute any of his data, and they try to make it look like he leaked people's personal information. Well, all right. So let's go to some of the Ed Dowd stuff, because this is very similar to what the information that Ed Dowd's been looking at, but Ed Dowd didn't have as much like refined data. I can't wait to see what Ed Dowd finds when he goes through this data, because I'm sure Ed Dowd is going to be going through this quite a bit. So I want to go to the one where he was on Patrick Bet David. Which one was that? Here, this one. All right, this is a quick 3-minute clip to give you an idea. The whole New Zealand data that we just saw can be extrapolated out for the entire world. We can expect that to be happening everywhere. So Ed Dowd's been talking about this exact same thing for like 2 years now. Listen to him talk.
But something very striking happened in 2021. And that's when we really started, thinking we were 100% right that the vaccine.
Also, if you don't know who this is, he used to work for BlackRock. He was a numbers guy. He would just look at numbers and make people money. That's what he did. So he started taking his analytical skills and applying it to COVID numbers and vaccine numbers.
Vaccine was doing something. So the big mix shift from old to young was a big tell for us. COVID wasn't killing young people in 2020. What was killing people in 2021? We obviously think it's the vaccines. And the data keeps rolling in. We got all 22 in, and it's not looking good. And since those numbers that you spoke about, the Society of Actuaries has collated all the numbers from the group life industry. They do a survey. 80% of the revenues are covered, and they verified our numbers in August of 2022 with the report that they put out. Table 5.7 is the big table. And it's claims. It's not dollars. It's just claims. And right now, if you were to look at the group life policy results this quarter, they're not that bad because they've priced it up. They've repriced everything. So that the losses aren't occurring because they're just raising prices. But the claims, the number of the units, the deaths, is still up. And what we saw in 2021 was alarming. One of the biggest things that I think is a smoking gun is what happened to the millennials in the third quarter of 2021. In the group life policy holders, their excess mortality prior to that in the spring was running around 30%. Now you got to remember 10%, as stated by Scott Davison at One America, is a once in a 200-year flood for this age group, 25 through 44. And he was seeing 40%.
So you guys hear that? So excess death, he's saying a 10% increase in excess death is like a 1 in a couple 100-year thing. Is what he just said. They're seeing a 30 to 40% increase in that specific age group, like my age group, fairly young, healthy men. I mean, people that the virus was not very dangerous for.
40% is off the charts. But in the third quarter of 2021, in table 5.7, their excess mortality rose up to 84%. 84%. And then it's come down since then, which is good news, but it's still running around 23%. And a whistleblower of mine at an insurance company who has insight to the Society of Actuary numbers just leaked to me, we're reaccelerating this, in the fourth quarter of 2022. So it's not good news. But for me, the spike to 84% was what I call an event. What was that event? Well, it was called mandates and mass vaccination program. This is a group of people that aren't supposed to die, and especially group life policy holders, as you know, Patrick. These folks are the elite. They work at Fortune 500 companies, mid-sized companies, and they have access to the best healthcare. So why would all of a sudden they die in a very temporal spike like that? We're assuming it's the mandates and the vaccines. I've heard the naysayers tell me, Ed, it's suicides. So there was a suicide pact in the third quarter of 21. Doubtful. Yeah. Doubtful, right? Mm-hmm. Was there, and now I'm also told, well, drug overdoses. Well, to get a group life claim, you have to be employed with the company. I don't know too many fentanyl and heroin users at Fortune 500 companies that keep their jobs for long. So there wasn't a mass, overdosing situation. And then the third one that I heard was that they missed their cancer screening treatment or appointments. I'm 56. I haven't had a cancer screening in my life.
Certainly young people aren't going to cancer screening.
No.
All right. So the data he's looking at is insurance data from companies. This is people are, medical people are going all off into the weeds looking at medical data. He went a different route. He's looking at hard numbers of stuff that there's no reason to lie for. People that have gone in for life insurance, people that have put in for life insurance claims and disability claims. So this is, it's almost like they forgot, like, oh yeah, people are going to see this data too. All right. So they knew this stuff, guys. I don't know if they knew how dangerous certain batches were going to be, but we always knew how dangerous COVID was. Like we always knew how dangerous COVID was for all age groups. They pushed the vaccine unnecessarily hard. And I would say that's extremely conservative, the way I just put it. They heavily coerced people to take the vaccine, all throughout the West, especially. And New Zealand was insane about it. Let's look at some Jacinda Ardern stuff, because she was nuts. Just listen to this crazy lady be a nutbag. Here, listen to her talk.
The now Prime Minister of New Zealand has hosted a press conference which was about as conducive to open debate as an audience with Kim Jong-un. Check this out.
And what I'd say is that we're all actually completely on the same page when it comes to driving vaccinations and making sure that we're doing everything that we can to reach people that we need to. This is an issue of Israel. This is an issue not working in Israel. Sir, I'm going to answer the questions of the accredited media. Also in the UK. Sir, I will shut down the press conference if you do not cease. It's rude to lie. Sorry, to our accredited members of the gallery here, we might move to an
So you can hear what the guy's asking her. He's like, he's basically saying, why are you still pushing the vaccine so insanely hard when the study coming out of Israel is showing that it's got a 38% efficacy rate? And so this was still super early on. The numbers weren't looking good. And she's refusing to answer his questions. Like, nah, we're going to go inside because you're not an accredited. This lady's a horrible, horrible woman. ACORBs, most the deaths were in the Midwest. Why? Because that's where the farmland is? I'm not following. Casey Martin, they offered me a Krispy Kreme. True story. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they sure did. Throw it. Nope, I'm not going to say that, ACORBs. It looks like somebody already did, by the way. She is toe up from the blow up for sure. Reminds me of Hillary Ronan. I don't know who that is, and I don't think I want to know who that is.
side venue. Unfortunately, we've got someone who's disrupting your press conference today, so we might reconvene. Thank you.
There shall be no dissent. Accredited press only, asking accredited questions for which the public will receive accredited answers. I'm horrified by what has happened to this once freedom-loving and truly great nation. Here is Saint Jacinda happily acknowledging that she has reintroduced apartheid to a Western nation.
So you basically see this is going to be like, well, it's almost like, you probably don't see it like this, the two different classes of people. If you're vaccinated or if you're unvaccinated, you have all these rights. If you are vaccinated.
That is what it is. So, yep.
So there it is. Never forget how evil these people became. Dan Andrews as well, out of Australia. That psychopath. He was just like the male version of her. They were just so happy to say, oh yeah, we are stripping you of your rights. The insane shit this lady said during COVID, especially now looking back, knowing how effective the vaccine was, what they did was insane. It was psychopathic what they did, knowing how much they suppressed the data and made everybody else insane with all their propaganda, turned everyone against the unvaccinated, because everybody thought COVID's not going to end unless everybody gets the vaccine, because most people are sheep and they just listen to all the propaganda. So it just turned everyone against us and made our lives a living hell. She was like the ringleader of all this shit. These people are pure evil, absolute psychopaths.
Saint Jacinda, the Kiwi Mussolini. COVID has turned so many supposedly democratic leaders into out-of-control dictators whose power base is driven by the hellish ideology of zero COVID. But
Jacinda Ardern, Dan Andrews, Justin Trudeau, Gavin Newsom, what's freaking Andrew Cuomo, who's de Blasio, freaking Gretchen Whitmer, just so many people, just so many politicians became absolute freaking tyrants. Oh, that was so crazy, Casey Martin. I literally looked at your word, effing tyrant, as I was saying the word tyrant. That's just, yep. Surprised there hasn't been. Oh, I can't say that either, Acorns. we need fair trials first, due process. Yeah. Pete Grammar, I can't say that either. You guys are killing me. All right. Let's see. All right, B Sizzo, you like the Mountain Goat Militia idea? Oh, all right, cool. I like it. So here, let me go back to, there's some other videos of how insane Jacinda Ardern was. Here, watch. This is this first part of this clip isn't that relevant, so I'm not going to play the first part, but this is just like a compilation of stuff she said during COVID. Well, I'll just play the whole clip. It's only 1:18, but she's I'm not even sure what this is in reference to, the first part that she's talking about. It's just her being super hypocritical about all the stuff she did during COVID, and then starts talking about like being fair and that kind of thing.
David Seymour has met with some of the so-called leadership of this protest. Do you think that emboldens the protesters, and do you think it's a responsible thing to do?
No, I don't think it was a responsible thing to do for a party that purports to be the champion of law and order, or indeed businesses, to meet with those who are obstructing Wellingtonians from going about their everyday lives, bullying and harassing people who are trying to go to school or work.
I trusted the government, and then I was forced to take this because I was worried of losing my job.
Those are words that should never come out of your mouth, anybody that's watching this. I trusted the government. Those words should never come out of your mouth.
If we weren't coerced and brainwashed into getting these vaccines, he could still be alive. If we weren't...
Look at the stormtrooper standing behind her. Like, how freaking dystopian is this whole scene right here? Like, all three of them have their arms crossed in the exact same way, wearing the same thing with their silly masks. It's just... People are forgetting what these last 3 years were like. This whole thing was just this giant dystopian novel.
Forced into making a choice between our jobs, incomes, and livelihoods, he could still be alive.
Bullying and harassing people. If you want summer, if you want to go to bars and restaurants, get vaccinated. If you want to get a haircut, get vaccinated. Bullying and harassing people. If you want to go to a concert or a festival, get vaccinated. If you want to go to a gym or a sports event, get vaccinated. Obstructing Wellingtonians from going about their everyday lives. If you are not vaccinated, there will be everyday things you will miss out on.
Think about all the people that didn't take it initially because they weren't scared. They're just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to, I'm good. And then they're just like, oh, crap, I can't go to a concert, or I can't go to the bar, I can't go to the gym or whatever. And they just took it because they were coerced. What percentage of people was that? Because it's a lot. This was crimes against humanity. Any way you slice it, this was forcing an experimental thing on the public without informed consent, with what we learned about the Twitter files and how much information they suppressed. Freaking insane. It is freaking insane. I think that might be yeah, I got some other clips from Ed Dowd to pull up, but yeah, that's about it. That's about it from the New Zealand story. So I really wanted to dive as far into that as I could and give you guys everything I had on it so far and everything that's out there. But this should be turning into a major story because, I mean, New Zealand's already not refuting the data. This does appear to be legit data. It does appear that specific batches of the different vaccines were deadly. Whether it was intentional or not is anybody's guess. It was, because those batches were mishandled or whatever. But it suggests that this information is being hidden from the public, and there's a massive cover-up going on. This should be gigantic world news, and I don't know how many people are going to cover it, but this should be gigantic news with how many people throughout the world were coerced into taking this thing. And I think everybody knows somebody that had a bad reaction at the very least to this. I mean, one person it wasn't a super close friend of mine, but it was an ultra runner friend, an ultra runner colleague, I should say. It's not my job, but it was somebody I knew in passing, and we would direct message back and forth and stuff. Really solid runner, amazing runner. She's probably one of the best runners around here. And I run into her all the time over at Quicksilver. And she was talking about the vaccine and stuff. And I was telling her from the very beginning, it was like when it first came out, I was like, it's like, dude, you are, first of all, she's younger than me, probably like, I don't know her age, but she's probably like 5 years younger than me at least. And in elite physical condition, not like she's in good shape. Elite physical condition, the top 1% of athletes. This chick is phenomenal, like could compete for the United States teams, like phenomenal athlete. It's like there's zero reason for you to take this thing. She ended up taking the J&J thing. It crushed her for like 10 days on her ass, like couldn't do nothing. Luckily, so everything appears to be fine. I don't think she took another shot, but messed her up really bad. And I've talked about it on the show. A very, very close friend of mine within my tightest circle of friends. Somebody that I've known for a very, very long time, that I grew up with, went to high school with, is a very close friend of mine. I'm not saying it was a vaccine, but he died suddenly. They found him face down in his bed. It's my age, So a lot of people out there feel like they were injured and they have nobody in their corner, people whose loved ones were injured, and just nobody wants to give them the time of day. This whole thing, people are... Obviously, death is a lifelong effect, but there's people that were seriously injured from this thing, can't go back to work, and weren't given they weren't given disability because they say it wasn't a vaccine injury. Like, the shadiest stuff was done to people, and I don't know how this gets remedied, because this was a crime against humanity. I don't know how else you can put it. So. I don't know how else to put it. That's it. All right, guys. I think that is all I got for tonight. Didn't go as long as I thought it would. I thought it would actually go, I thought it was going to be closer to 2 hours, actually. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out tonight. A-Corps, Pete Grabber, Casey Martin. I am Spartacus. There's a lot of you guys new tonight. Rochelle, Sedan. All right. Hopefully I didn't miss any of you guys. A lot of you guys in there. Be Sizzo, Dager, Wally World. Always nice to see you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. And I will be back here tomorrow, which is like an hour-long stream, most likely. Actually, no, tomorrow I'm going to be, it'll probably be longer than an hour, because I'm going down to the courthouse, to turn in my filing fee. And I get my papers, and I will need to get 30 more signatures. So that's a thing. I have like only a few days to do it. So hopefully I can do that. But I have to get 30 signatures. So if any of you guys are local and you're watching, I'm going to go set up somewhere and with the table and try to get more signatures. So Casey Martins and Spartacus, you're gonna keep putting me on blast on X. What? I appreciate it. Awesome. Rochelle, thanks for watching. I am Spartacus. Awesome. Thanks for hanging out. All right. Well, yeah. So tomorrow I'll be talking about my experience at the courthouse. Probably won't be too much, but all right. Well, you guys know how we do it. Before we get out of here, we got to read a joke from the greatest book ever written, The Truth About Chuck Norris. Let's see what we got tonight. You guys ready for it? Let's see what we have. Okay, if he says, "Oh, cool, you're local, dude," I'll freaking, if you said you'll sign, I'll actually come to you. I don't even care. Yeah, I'll set up my signature table and everything. I'll probably just go over to the lighthouse again. That's a funny joke, but it's too short. I don't want to read it. Okay, all right. I haven't pre-screened this one. You guys ready? You guys ready for tonight's Chuck Norris joke? Here we go. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow night at 6:30. Here's tonight's Chuck Norris joke of the evening. Chuck Norris has no concept of time. If you go to his house, you won't find a single clock. When you ask to leave because it's getting too late, he stares at you blankly until you sit back down. And on that note, stay CaliBased.